Live life to the fullest and don't give up ever. Well, that's not my expression, or better said, I didn't come up with that one. I read it on a daily basis when I was still at high school because the one and only Eric Carr had written that in the Dutch Kiss Army magazine. So I had copied it and it was in my calendar, in my diary basically. And well, I basically looked at it every day, and I still believe that it's such a powerful message. Now, Eric didn't know that he wouldn't live beyond his 41st birthday. And I'm going to turn these off. I'm sorry. This is live, but I don't like the way it actually shines in my glasses. Okay. Anyway, Eric Carr didn't know, but apparently he did say at some point to Eric Singer, he was performing back then for Paul Stanley. So he was playing drums for Paul Stanley when he was doing his solo tour. And apparently he saw Eric Singer and he said, "You are going to be my replacement in Kiss." And how right he was. So again, I don't believe that he knew that he wouldn't live past 41. He died of heart cancer. But I do know that he was a huge inspiration, not just for me, but for so many other people out there. And that's why I want to talk about living life to the fullest and how to do so on this magnificent day. So July 12th was the day that Eric Carr had his birthday. He was from 1950, so he would have become 76 years old today. Can you believe that? I'm not sure if we're going to make that age, if we ever will get that old. But regardless, I do have a few things that I want to share with you. And the main reason has to do with purpose, because what drives me is purpose. So the first thing that I want to share when it comes to living life to the fullest is about intention. When you know what it is that you want to do, so basically also when you know your purpose, you and you really want to make the most of it, it's so important to set intention at the beginning of the day. And also at the end of the day, look back on what you have done and what you haven't done. So I know that I went from Friday Night Live to Weekend Night Live. And quite honestly, at this moment, I would like to be asleep. Not because I'm that sleepy, but because I've got a lot to do later today. And well, I do want to be rested. So I said to myself, I'm going to do this anyway because, and I talked about this before, this is also about what am I telling my brain? And my brain knows when I actually keep my promise or not. And more importantly, when I look at this little bunny, jumping bunny, my inner kid, well, she is going to tell me if she's getting restless. And well, the last couple of days, she has been pretty restless. And to go to the next thing, well, actually, it was going to be third on my list, but we're going to make it the second one on the list, which is about boundaries and expressing them. So a couple of days ago, I was having dinner with someone, and because there are always things that I want to do, things I want to work on, I don't necessarily always know which thing I want to go do first, but I do know the minimum that I want to do. And sometimes that gets hijacked by sleep. But if it's possible, there's always something I want to get out there. And this thing that I do on a weekly basis, no matter how short it is, and of course, my goal is to do it an hour, but not on days like these. On days like these, where I know that I have to get some sleep, I'm like, okay, let's just get out there, let's get that message across, and let's go do it. So that has to do with both energy and boundaries. So when it comes to boundaries and I feel restless and Bunny is like kicking and letting me know, hey, this doesn't feel right. And I know it because, well, it's hard not to notice because I can't sit still. My hands are moving, my legs are moving, and I want to do certain things. But not everyone always appreciates this. And quite honestly, at some point, I stopped going to, well, let's say to people that don't appreciate me for who I am. And here's the thing. What do you do when someone who is sitting opposite you is learning to set boundaries themselves? So what I do now is one thing that I can do is actually express how I feel about certain things and what's going on. And I do actually take some time to check my phone or send a message. It's not checking the phone for the sake of checking the phone. It's more like if I know that I want to get something across to one of my clients or something is going on, I cannot wait like 5 hours just because I'm having dinner. If something urgent is going on and it only costs me like 1 or 2 minutes, then I want to be able to have those 1 or 2 minutes. And well, that means that I need to communicate these boundaries and explain why I'm doing this. This brings me to energy. When you want to make the most of life, it's of course very important that you manage your energy. So we talked about the intention, right? And about looking back on the day. But energy is, if you don't feel energized, it is hard to actually appreciate the day. Not just because you want to fall asleep, but when you don't feel optimal, then how are you going to smile through the day if all you can think about is how am I going to get on with this day? How am I going to survive this day? So it's important that you, even by the way, when you have little energy left, that you do make the most of it and that you also time when you get your rest, your energy, when you recharge. So just think about that and write it down for yourself. What do you do when it comes to recharging your energy? Do you know what time and when you need it? Can you feel it when you're too tired? So be intentional about your energy. Well, we talked about boundaries and I also addressed purpose for a moment here. I do believe that when you talk about living life to the fullest, it's also about knowing what your purpose is and living according to that purpose. So I want to support others speaking up. So I said I'm going to be the go-to expert for neurodivergent people. But I guess if you look at it from a high level, from the top level, it's about inspiration. It's about inspiring others. Yes, with the message, you're worth it, you're good enough, and also with one step at a time. But it's about that inspiration, and that means that I want to get something out there. Now, I am aware that I am one of those people who easily gets distracted, and especially last week there was a lot going on which got me occupied. But having said so, I also celebrate the wins. And that's the next thing that I wanted to say, that no matter how small the win, when you acknowledge it and when you are aware of what you have done, it does create a very good feeling, and you can go on from there. It's when you think about what you have done and what you have achieved, it does give a good feeling. It feels joyous and it gives energy. So celebrate that win. And of course, you can think about, well, I haven't done this, that, and the other. But is that going to help you to feel good about yourself? And especially when other things have been occupying your mind and your time, do celebrate that win. And the last one is about enjoying what you're doing. And linked to that is also appreciation. And how cool is it when you are enjoying something and certain circumstances are giving you that joy, they are attributing to that joy. Maybe not just circumstances, but also people. Do you acknowledge those people? Do you say thank you? One of the things that I really love to do is to just say thank you. Thank you for making my day. So even when I go out to dinner, I will say to the person at the restaurant, whether it's the waitresses or the one who owns the restaurant, thank you. Thank you for everything you've done. I really appreciated it. And basically everywhere where I go, I always finish with saying thank you. And sometimes it happens that people are already gone, or they didn't expect me to say anything, so hence they move away and go do their own thing. But if I have the possibility, I will always say thank you, thank you, thank you. And today I also wrote a little message. Well, actually, I left a comment for the person who, for instance, is making it possible that we still get to enjoy all this stuff from Eric Carr. So, whereas I know that his sister Loretta and I think his cousin, so that's probably her daughter, I'm not entirely sure, are also keeping his memory alive. It's Bruce Kulick, the guitar player, the former guitar player from Kiss, who keeps his memory alive and makes sure that albums get released and that we get to know other things. And I cannot tell you how appreciative I am for him doing so. And if I look at this week, there were a lot of things that I was appreciative for, not just for the dinner I had with a friend at a very good restaurant where we like to go to, where we know it's excellent food, but also the conversation I had with my rehab doctor earlier this week. He really listened, and I hadn't expected that he would. I have to say, it was also very daunting because I won't say he called me out, but sort of he did. So he told me, well, you're talking about really emotional things, but you don't show it. You're so calm and matter of fact. But he also said, but every now and then I can feel that there's more going on. And at some point he picked up on it. And then we talked on. Then I started sharing why I usually am, like they call it over here, on, as in there's always part of me that's attentive, on the lookout, that's like, okay, monitoring what's going on. It's a result of how I grew up. It's a result of the things that I've experienced. And even when I'm not aware of it, it's apparently there. But life has a way of throwing curveballs, and especially knowing what it is that I want to do. I always have this idea that life is testing us. If you say that you really want something, well, let's see if you still say so, if you make it a little bit harder. Well, I guess that's what's going on right now on multiple levels. And, maybe number 7 is what I was doing right now. If you can't make it any more fun, then just laugh about it. Because, well, we can be fully stressed. But on the other hand, if we see it for what it is, and, like I said, set the intention to at least do what we can do and influence what we can influence and speak up about what needs to be said, well, there's your win. That's the thing that's so important, to be aware yourself about what it is that you need to feel like, yes, I'm doing it, even if it's not going according to plan. But knowing that you did, that can actually help you smile. And when we talk about living life to the fullest, then that's a major part of it. To really be aware of what it is that you want to do and just go for it. And again, if you might feel like, well, I know what I want to do, but I don't know in which order, just start somewhere. Just take that first step. And, well, as Eric said, don't give up ever, because we are very good at just throwing in the towel. And, well, is that something that we want to do? Or are we going to say, it might not be easy, but it doesn't mean that the cause, the purpose is not worthwhile. So let's go do it. And Well, if I think about that, it's 30, 35 years later now since Eric Carr has passed on, and he's still inspiring me. Shouldn't I at least make an effort to inspire others and to keep doing so on a daily basis? And having said so, how about you? What's your purpose? What do you do to inspire others? What makes your life worthwhile? When will you say, I am living life to the fullest, or I have lived life to the fullest, and I'm not going to give up ever? I'm going to push through. What does it take? What does that mean to you? Just sit down for a moment and write it down. And then every day look at what you've written down and start working towards it. One tiny action a day, one win a day. That will make a difference, because if you keep doing so over and over and over again, you might be quitting for a few days, but you will always return back to purpose, because you know what it is and you know what it means to you and you know what it means to others. And if you're saying, well, Lexi, I don't think I have it in me, then maybe it's time to rewrite your inner story, to change your narrative. And I put a link in the description, so go check it out. Rewrite your inner story, the challenge. It's only 7 days, but it can teach you immensely, as in so much, because it all has to do with mindset and being aware of how you talk to yourself. Again, today was a short one because I've got a lot of things to do, but I did want to go out there, celebrate the day. Yes, also dedicate this to Eric Carr today. And really asking you to, after this live, sit down and answer those questions. What makes your life worthwhile? If you talk about living life to the fullest, not giving up ever, then what's the purpose? What's making your life fun? How can you inspire others? What do you do? How do you inspire yourself? Write it down and leave a comment.